historically, a lot of folks depended on the streams, not just the oceans, but they also harvested from the streams. So the different oopu, the opai, the shrimps, as well as the hihivai, the snails. So what's been real interesting is in this location, the groundwater actually maintains the estuary. By maintaining the estuary, I keep getting recruits, so the animals still keep recruiting to the stream, even though there may be no surface flow because of the diversions. But the recruitment has stayed pretty healthy. A lot of our streams have been diverted. So what we wanted to do was to be able to show the difference between diverted streams, as well as different locations in the streams. You have maybe different water temperatures, different amounts of water flowing, or even no water in stream. Some of the streams are diverted, so some have been channelized, and then other streams, they've become intermittent. So when they're intermittent, then the lower parts of the streams are dry. A lot of times what I do is I share that the hihivai, or any of the animals in the streams, basically the eggs will hatch, then the larvae actually flows out to the ocean. When they flow into the ocean, as they develop, then what happens is the hihivai will start to settle, and then they'll start migrating upstream. For the hihivai, they would have to crawl upstream. Same with the opai, as well as the oopu would start swimming up the stream. And then so for the different animals, like the oopu, they have the fused pelvic fin. It's like a suction cup. It allows them to climb up the waterfalls. So the opai, with all their legs, they also will climb up waterfalls also.
But these are little tiny creatures, yeah?
Yes, they're very tiny. Actually, the hihivai, what's interesting is the hihivai, actually you can identify them by the yellow spots. And the hihivai, even as small as 1 millimeter, you're able to see the yellow spots on the hihivai, and then they'll migrate upstream. As snails, what they do is they put down a mucus trail, and then they'll sort of follow the leader and head upstream in lines. And then so I think they've already finished migrating, and so they've kind of like dispersed. So that's why I turned over the rocks. When you turn them over, then you also see the different size hihivai. As they migrate upstream and they'll be feeding, and like most of the animals, they'll start to grow in size as they're also migrating upstream. Well, some of them can get up to the headwaters. So like your opai and your oopu alamoa are our best climbers in the stream. So they actually are one of the first fish, and with the opai, they'll actually swim up to the headwaters, or basically up into the valley. I've been working with first the oopu, the fishes. We have 5 different oopu. 4 of them are what we call gobies. So they have this fused pelvic fin. It's like a suction cup. This is what allows them to climb up the waterfall, as well as they'll use that suction to kind of hold on to the bottom during fast water and things. 3 of the oopu actually are better climbers than the others. So those 3 are the ones that we normally see upstream. There's also an oopu akupa, that's the 5th one, and that one doesn't have a fused pelvic fin, so it stays below, or it can't get above the first waterfall. So it stays below, but what happens is that one is a carnivore. So as a carnivore, he's feeding on the other fishes that are trying to come up the stream. So it's sort of interesting how nature has created a niche. So that fish actually feeds on the other fishes that are trying to come up the stream. And then there's also the prawns. First, the Tahitian prawns were introduced in the 50s by Fish and Game. And also before I was born. But there are Tahitian prawns in the stream. In addition to, there's also a native prawn, the opai oeha'a, which you can identify from stripes on its claws, but a little bit smaller in terms of a prawn. But it's also a good, it's a prawn that you find in the streams. And then also the hihivai. The hihivai are the snails. We have other snail. Well, the hihivai are also related to the pipipi, which is the black snail that you see on the shoreline. And then there's also the hapavai. That one is a brackish water species. And then your pipivai is also a brackish water species. But the hihivai is the only one that will migrate upstream. And that one will stay in the fresh water, and they will migrate upstream. So remember what I was saying about they could be as small as 1 millimeter, that they'll grow over 2 inches. And then, so it takes about roughly, I think, 2 years or so for them to get that big. But the hihivai are present, and then it also tells us, I think, If the flow is good, the hihivai will come back to the streams. We see them at many of the East Maui streams that we were studying. We found hihivai recruiting back to the mouth. This is Waiahue stream. We have an upstream site which we put a temperature logger. So it takes the water temperature, and then every quarter we swap out the logger, and then we download the data to a computer. So the temperature loggers actually do collect the data for us. I think for a lot of our streams, I think it ties in with a lot of productivity and the ecosystem. So it's just more than just a few animals, but sort of the ecosystem, the plants and the animals. We've been looking at that. We've been looking at also not just the native species, but also introduced species. With the introduction of a lot of different animals, they've impacted our watersheds.